listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond. www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction, well, 9 times out of 10 is reality here. And we come to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the Talkstar Radio Network, and around Europe on Radio X. If you'd like to give us a call toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our radio website where you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Joyce Keller. She is an internationally respected author of 10 books, TV, radio host, and psychic medium and consultant. Honored in both issues of Simon & Schuster's Top 100 Psychics in America and many issues of Who's Who. Her next book, which will be out in the spring of this year, 2016, is Why Am I Here? And her radio show is heard Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio. And Joyce Keller, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Rob, you and I go way back. Congratulations, 25 years. You and I were babies when we started doing this, right?
You were a baby. I was already on the on the cusp.
On the precipice.
Yeah, that's right. So, goodness, you're still so busy, with doing your books, 10 books. Wow. But tell me a little...
It could be 11. See, it's hard to count. Some of them were published by different publishers twice, so I don't really know.
Tell me a little bit about the book that's coming out this spring. Why Am I Here?
Yeah, I mean, am I wrong, Rob, in saying people wander around from birth to death saying, why am I here?
Oh, they do that all the time.
Yeah, and there are very few answers. And I found that one thing that really works is when you look at very quickly at a book called The Ephemeris, which I'm sure you know about, which tells where the planets are at the moment of birth. It's like generally, but, it's right in there. It usually tells you the position of what's known as the north node of the moon, and that will tell you the purpose of your birth. So that's what the book is about. It tells you your soulmates, why you're here, the purpose of your life, your last incarnation, what you did right, what you did wrong, and it should be pretty accurate. You can look up your birthday very quickly. So I'm looking. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say. So basically, it's your very own personal who's who.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
And the Edgar Casey ARE Publishing Company is coming out with that. So I'm so thrilled that they're doing that because I love Edgar Casey, as most people do. So that's an honor. And some of my other books are being republished also. So that's all very, very exciting. God is good, right?
He
sure is. You have good things happening. I have good things also. So tonight, big change, big shift in energy. I don't know when this show is going to be heard, but there's a beautiful full moon in Virgo out tonight. I was hoping that people would look out their window and see it because it's very energizing, and it's going to be bringing stability to areas of the planet that have been very unstable. This is very important, so it's a good day today.
Well, there has been a lot of uncertainty and instability around the world, with the military crisis in the Middle East. You've got ISIS, and then you've got North Korea flexing its muscle again. You've got Russia flexing its muscle. It seems that North America is caught in the sandwich of instability.
All that flexing.
Yeah.
It should be attractive, but it's not. So, it's normally something we would look forward to.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, I had always thought that Hillary had the destiny of being president. And I still feel that she does. It's really her destiny, and whether we like it or not. And with Trump, I don't know if you wanted to get into politics that quickly, but it came up because of something you said. And I'm just wondering, I think Trump would be good for the country, but he is also we were talking about instability before, and he seems very unstable. He seems like Gemini at its worst. And I'm a Gemini, so I can say that.
All right, let's talk more about Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Ted Cruz, Senator Rubio, and whoever else is sticking in. On the other side of this commercial break, X Zone Nation, Joyce Keller is our special guest, www.joycekeller.com. This is the X Zone, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Joyce Keller and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Linnea Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you were able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Exonation, Joyce Keller is my special guest at this hour. www.joycekeller.com is her website. And before we went to the break, Joyce, we had just started talking about the political scene. Looking at it from the above the 49th parallel, I love Trump. I think that he is exactly what the world needs today. Somebody who says what's on their mind and says what the people are thinking, who don't need to be politically correct.
Yes, but I agree with you completely, and I do love him, and I've known him for years, and I always felt that he was presidential. But I think he needs someone to say to him, he must have an advisor other than Melania, whatever his wife's name is, someone to say to him, I think you might want to be a little bit less offensive. He has turned off quite a few people, which is a shame, because I would love to see him win.
But even though he's turned off many people, he is leading in double digits in every poll.
Well, that tells you everything we need to know. We're tired, and it's time for a little refreshing change and honesty and integrity, and I don't think that Hillary is it. And I saw a cartoon last night. Supposedly, Bill said to her, "Well, you can still be president, after you're out of jail." Haven't other leaders done that? like the Israeli leader, he went on to be premier after he served in jail. So that's really not even funny, because again, we need integrity, and we so appreciate the support of Canada. It's wonderful. I love the way. Rob, I love the fact that you played your anthem and ours together at the beginning of the show. How terrific is that?
Well, we are neighbors.
Yeah, well, that's honest and respectful and very decent of you.
Oh, thank you, sweetie.
Thank you.
Listen, how did you get started in the world of the paranormal?
Well, my mother was a medium, so to me this seemed very natural. My brother and sister were not interested. They just took off. They said, no, we're not going to be part of this. So they just, they went and did whatever they had to do. But I thought my mother was the greatest thing ever. And she taught me numerology and graphology and all the ologies, astrology. To me, it seemed very natural. So even as a young child, I would sit on her bed, and in the morning we would analyze her dreams and my dreams and how significant they are to our spiritual development. And they're not just crazy cartoons we see in the night. So she was extremely instrumental, and her mediumship was very instrumental in helping mine to develop. And if I can just share one thing with you.
Please.
About my first day in kindergarten, which was really a disaster, and I learned about that. The first day of kindergarten, of course, is the usual confusion of children. They're all 5-year-olds, and they're trying to figure out what all of this is about. And there's one teacher who's trying to survive this whole situation. And in the middle of all of this, I had a very clear vision that she needed to go home. Her mother was ill and needed her. This is the first day of kindergarten. So I gently called her over, and I remember it so clearly, Rob. And I said, Miss Harris, you really have to go home. Your mommy needs you. Your mommy is ill. So she knelt down next to me, and she said, if you speak the whole rest of the school year, she said, this is the first day of kindergarten, if you speak again, you're going to spend the rest of your life in the principal's office. She said, don't even think about it. So she left in a big huff, and she was finished with me. So I said, okay, I learned from that not to say anything to anyone. But then there was the second day of kindergarten. Totally. Okay, so I very meekly went in. I sat down very quietly. I'm not going to speak to anyone. But she came over to me immediately, and she knelt down next to me, and she took my hand, which was not a good sign. And she said to me, remember yesterday, Joyce, when you told me about how I had to go home, that my mommy was ill? And I just nodded yes. And she said, how did you know that? She said, my mom, just when you told me that, went in an ambulance to the hospital. She was very, very ill, and I should have listened to you, and I should have gone home. So again, I didn't say anything, so I'm still terrified. But she said, tell me something. And she gripped my hand a little more tightly, and she said, am I ever getting married? I said, oh, no, I'm not going to. I'm only 5 years old. I'm not going to do any readings for you, lady. So I said, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I was, but that's really how I got started. And then, Rob, I learned for the whole rest of my school and college and everything else to not share anything with anyone, just to be very, very private. And even unless you receive something really important, like tomorrow, do not get on that plane or something like that. That, of course, you pass along. But for the most part, I really did keep it very, very quiet. And if I may share another little quick story with you about a cemetery.
Please, yeah, sure.
Okay. I was about, 3 years old, and I'm in the back seat of my parents' car. In those days, we had no seatbelts. So I'm standing up in the back. And my parents are driving through the cemetery. They always went to cemeteries in Brooklyn because that's what people did. They put flowers on graves of relatives. So we're driving slowly through the cemetery, and my parents are speaking, and I'm standing up in the back of the car. And my mom sees a mausoleum. She says to my dad, we should buy, they had money at the time, we should buy one of those little houses, one of those little mausoleums. And my father said, maybe, I don't know. So he slows down, they're looking at a mausoleum, and I'm thinking to myself, God help me, I do not want to live here. I have no place for my bike, no place for my dog, no place for my cat. This is awful. What are these lunatics thinking? So I was starting to cry so much. And my mother turned around. She said, what's wrong? And I said, I don't want to live in Greenwood Cemetery. I don't want to live in any cemetery. She said, what are you talking about? She said, she said, come up here. Come up and sit on my lap, and I'll explain all of this to you. So then, I actually started to understand more about what cemeteries were for, and just are they scary? What are they really? Yeah. And most of us don't even know what cemeteries are and the energy that is contained therein. But I find cemeteries to be fascinating, but I don't like the energy, and I don't like. I'll share something else with you, if I may.
Sure.
And this is just a private feeling that I have. When a person crosses over, and their body is buried in a cemetery. My husband was cremated, and I don't know if that's brilliant, but it's what he requested. So, but if a person is buried in a cemetery, it's a maudlin place for all concerned, especially for the people who cross over. They do not want to be with that body that's decaying. It's nothing at all like what they knew in their lifetime. So when you visit them and you put flowers on their grave, it's a nice memorial. But a lot of people go every day and they pull that energy, they pull that spirit back to the grave. And the energy is one of where they want to go more into the light, not be pulled into a dark place like a cemetery. So I usually, if people ask me, I tell them it would be better if you honor them in your heart and just in a beautiful way, perhaps have a little, go to church, light a candle for them, go to your synagogue, do whatever you can do. But that's just my feeling, Rob. I mean, do you have any feelings about that?
Well, as a young boy, a good friend of mine, his dad was the senior caretaker at the Mount Royal Cemetery in Montreal, and I used to go to his house and play, and we'd scoot off into the cemetery and watch what was going on. And cemeteries never bothered me. I've always looked at death as the next stage in this existence that we partake in. Death is, in my books, the cocoon stage, and after we exit the cocoon stage, when we have passed to the other side, we have a whole new existence ahead of us.
Yes, absolutely, and it's really glorious in almost all cases, unless you just choose not to have that experience. And I've had a number of near-death experiences, so I'm really speaking firsthand about this. Plus, it opens mediumship when you have a near-death experience. Usually, it increases your ability to be a spiritual telephone, if you will. But the entities I've spoken with and have communicated with have told me that they do not like going back to cemeteries. They really don't like being pulled there. And when they see mourners and loved ones who are so sad and so upset, it's not a good thing. It's not good for them. It's not good for anyone, really. I remember so many people. My dad had 4 years without my mom, and he went every single day and brought flowers and all that. I said, Dad, don't do that. Don't do that. But he never changed right up until the last moment. That's how it was. And I know that people who practice voodoo, I don't, and some forms of witchcraft love to go to cemeteries like at midnight and get dirt from graves, and I have no idea what that's about, but I know that's a big practice.
It's called vandalism.
It's vandalism, but some people just reach through the gate, and they'll just do it through the fence. Is that still vandalism?
Well, I think it's crazy because I do not believe that the spirit of the person is there. Most people believe that the spirit will be in the location where it passed. No one passes away in a graveyard.
That's genius. But you're 100% right. And you think they stay when they pass away?
Heavens no.
No. Pardon me?
No, heavens no.
No. They go. As a matter of fact, I've seen so many people leave their body. When my dad left, he left through his solar plexus. Other people leave through the feet and through the head in all kinds of ways. But I saw him leave directly through the solar plexus and just go up to the ceiling and just leave. And he was gone and happy to go. I think most people are just thrilled to have that experience of departure. And we're the ones who are left behind with sadness, and they certainly do not experience anything like that. So it's so wonderful that you have a show like this, Rob, where you can get the word out. That's wonderful.
Joyce, stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. X-Zone Nation, Joyce Keller is our very special guest, a wonderful lady, a wonderful author, great TV radio host. Her website, www.joycekeller.com. And don't forget, X Zone Nation, coming out this spring, the spring of 2016, her brand new book, Why Am I Here? Answer a lot of questions. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, the one and only. Joyce Keller and I will be back on the other side of the short break. Don't go away.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to my family, my farm, and my books. But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerrean intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerrean Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerrean Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Joyce Keller is my special guest of this hour, www.joycekeller.com. You know, Joyce, you and I were talking briefly during the break about angels, my favorite topic. I had a lady, and I think the word lady here is too generous, last week.
What did she do, Rob?
Well, she tried to tell me that angels are cosmic demons.
what's almost worse than that is saying that a relative died and became an angel.
Yeah.
But cosmic demons, that's terrible. Oh, that's an awful thing. Why did she say that?
Well, she believes it. You know, she's a self. Her name is Tracy Lee, and she is a self-professed psychic surgeon who does psychic surgery in another dimension with extraterrestrials.
Well, it could be, Rob, in all fairness to her, that the energy she's dealing with is of that vibration. But that's essentially not the case. I mean, angels are here to guide, protect. I wrote Colonial Angels, which came out with from two different publishers, and nothing like. I channel my books usually, which means they come from spirit mostly, and there was nothing like that ever mentioned. All the years I've been working with angels, I mean, how does she justify that? Do you have any idea?
To justify anything, you have to have an ounce of reasoning. So that strikes her out. There over the past 25 years, there are maybe 20 or 30 guests that I have lost respect for once they start talking stupidity, and she was one of them. Because, yeah, like you're telling me that the reptilians are taking over bodies and that there are 4 or 5 different brands of extraterrestrials here. There's a major government conspiracy, this, that, and the other thing. You're doing psychic surgery with extraterrestrials in a different dimension, and that cosmic demons, archangels are cosmic demons, and you can't do what you're doing in the United States because you believe you're going to be institutionalized. That's why you're doing everything you're doing in Japan, where you believe you're a celebrity.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right, well, look, she's entitled to that, I guess, if she believes that. But they're just the most incredible beings, and they're so self-effacing. Yeah. You know how they don't expect any... Nope. You don't even know that they're working for us. I mean, they'll do wonderful things, and you don't have the slightest idea. And you'll say to yourself, I just had a really brilliant idea. I just had a genius idea. Yep. It's not even your idea. It's their idea. So, it's like they will inspire and protect and guide, and the only time you might see them is in time of great crisis. Have you ever seen an angel, do you think?
I've seen 2.
Where were they?
I saw one. I was a little boy. My younger brother, he's 5 years younger than I am. Back then, baby food came in tin cans. And my mom and dad went and bought baby food, and he had supper, and he got very violently ill. To make a long story short, my parents put him in the car, put me in the car. They dropped me off at my grandmother's house, and they head off to the hospital. Get a call from my mother at the hospital saying that my brother's very sick. He has ptomaine poisoning. Apparently, it came from the can of baby food.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so we're at my grandmother's, and my grandmother's called all the family together because it didn't look very good for this little guy. We're in the kitchen of my grandmother's house, and I remember looking into a corner, and there stood this beautiful man. And he had the kindest smile. And he was smiling at me, and I guess I was smiling back. My grandmother looked at me, and she said, "What are you smiling about?" I said, "Because the man over there said everything was going to be all right." And we looked over there. Of course, there was no man there. But as soon as I told my grandmother that, the phone rang. It was my mother saying my brother was going to be all right.
Oh, my goodness. You see that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, and what was the second time?
The second time was my brother, God bless him. He was very sickly all the time throughout his youth. He was tongue-tied, cross-eyed, deaf. He had scarlet fever. He had ptomaine poisoning. You name it, my brother had it.
What a kid.
Yeah, a great kid. He's a great kid. He's a great man. And I remember waking up one morning. It was in the early morning hours. The sun was up. And he was sick with I believe, with scarlet fever at this time. And I remember seeing a lady praying over him. But it was no one in my family.
Oh, boy.
And they were the 2 times I saw angels.
I guess my first encounter with angels, and what you just told us was amazing. I was 7 years old, and it's so funny. They very rarely manifest. It has to be something really jarring, as both of your experiences. For me, my sister decided to teach me to swim. And of course, she didn't know how to swim herself, but she was quite a bit older, took me by the hand, and we went into Southampton Lake, which, if anybody knows Southampton Lake in New York on Long Island, you know that it's called a bottomless lake for a very good reason. They're very deep holes. So Grace and I went walking out into the lake, and I stepped into a hole, and she let me go, and I just went down. It got darker and darker and darker, and I realized I was not breathing. And I guess I had just turned 7 or 8, somewhere around 7 or 8. And at a certain point, you say, I'm not going to struggle anymore. I'm just going to let go. I'm just going to die. And there were so many problems, Rob, in my family at that time. My dad had just had a heart attack. My mother was physically challenged in every possible way. We were having financial problems. Everything went wrong. So I said, yeah, I really would like to not be here anymore. I really would like to go. Even though I'm only 7 years old, I'm ready to go. And at that moment, I realized I couldn't breathe anymore. This lovely illuminated being appeared down this dark, dark, murky lake with me, and she was looking at me, very lovely, lovely lady, and said to me, you know, you can die if you want to now, but I have so much work for you. I really would appreciate a little help here. That was the basis of the conversation. She said, I would really appreciate if you come back in your body, and I can help you. Don't worry. Oh, you're going to do a lot of work in your life. So I said, I really don't think that's a good idea. And while I'm arguing, my cousin George pulled my sister and pulled me out by the hair and threw us on the beach, and I was fine. But I do remember her kind of tapping her face down in this deep, dark, murky water, saying, excuse me, I think that you have a lot of work to do, and you're going to have to go back. But I thought I was gone, and then the next minute, I was coughing up water. Yeah. So they really do watch over us, and they know about our destiny, and you have free will.
Yes, you do.
But, maybe only about, for most of us, maybe only about 20%, something like that, 20 to 15%, I'm not sure, in keeping with our karma, or our destiny, whatever you believe. So for those of us who have near-death experiences, we do see angels. You saw them when you needed them. Yep. And, a lot of times they come as homeless people, which doesn't help us at all, because if you're in New York City like I am, you don't know who to give money to. Say, is this an angel, or is this really a derelict? What are we doing now? How much money can I have?
You know what? My dad taught us at a very young age, you never say no to someone who says they're hungry, because you never know who that person is.
Exactly.
So whenever Laura and I go downtown, either here in Hamilton or in Toronto, I always get at least $20 to $30 in toonies, or our $2 coin.
Oh, really?
And if somebody comes up to us and says, "Excuse me, can you spare any change for food?" we'll always give them 2 toonies.
Oh, that's so sweet. And that's such good karma, too. A lot of people ask how they can get out of the financial bind that they're in. And I say, well, I feel the best way is to start giving. Well, let's see, they'll say that they really don't even have enough to eat themselves, or they're just barely getting by. And I'll say, look, take whatever you have, divide it in a third or a quarter, and give it away. Give it to somebody. Grease that wheel of prosperity.
Well, that's what tithing's all about in the church.
Sure.
Yeah.
But 10% is a lot, though, for most people, especially now, isn't it?
I don't know anybody who anymore is bound by the amount of tithing. I know that in our church, the Anglican church, it's you give what you can.
Sure. Exactly. And I'm a part of that belief system also. The fact is you're going to be helping someone. Now, suppose as you give them money, this is a little far afield, but you see them going and getting liquor. How do you keep them from doing what you don't want them to do? Can you interfere with their karma? Should you say anything? Should you buy them a sandwich? Should you feed them? What would you suggest?
I'll let God handle that.
Uh-huh.
You know, if somebody comes up to me and they say they're hungry, for somebody to say to another person, a stranger, that they're hungry, that takes a lot. That takes a lot.
So if they want to go and get scotch, that's really, it's out of your hands at that point. You've done the best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have to ask, I'm sorry, go ahead. You sound like you were going to ask something.
No.
I was very impressed. I was telling you before we went on the air that I was learning a little bit. Now, you and I go back a long time.
Yes, we do.
We were on each other's shows like maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago. I'm not even sure how long ago it was. But we both have radio pioneering history behind us. I wanted to ask you about your experiences as a police officer. Mm-hmm. What capacity were you actually in?
Well, let's see. I did everything from uniform to investigations, criminal investigations, to wants and warrants.
Did this help you in your metaphysical work?
Big time.
Okay, how did it? I'm fascinated because I love working with the police, even though I find it a little bit terrifying, and I really don't want to look for bodies, and I try to avoid that. Yeah. But how do you think it was connected in your case?
It teaches you how to read people, how to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You know, this is why I got so upset at this guest the other day. And when you tell me that angels are from a demonic realm or the demons of the cosmos, I know that you're doing what you're doing for one reason, and that's for self-notoriety, self
aggrandizement.
Exactly. You know, you're just using the the people who need to fulfill your pockets. And to me, that is so wrong. So wrong. It
really is. Okay, so then, do you feel that people have the understanding to understand what you're saying? Are they, for the most part, the people that you worked with as a police officer, did they understand the cosmic teachings behind the work that you do?
I didn't understand it back then.
Uh-huh.
You see, I only was able to put one and one together when I left. And there were three things I wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to be a cop. Because my family is all law enforcement on my dad's side. I wanted to be in a rock and roll band. I don't know any kid who didn't want to be in a rock and roll band. And then my mom, she was she worked at CKGM in Montreal at the radio station, and then she was an actress who did plenty of the TV shows that were done at CFCF TV. So I would go with Mom to CFCF and watch the technical aspect. I wasn't interested in what she was doing. I just wanted to watch the technical stuff.
Sure.
You know, so I was a cop, I was in a rock and roll band, and here I am now in broadcasting for 25 years. And it was a progression. And I believe that this was the path that I had chosen. Unknowingly, you know, music, learning everything about people. I've seen the best of people. I've seen the worst of people. People can do horrific things to other people, and I saw that in law enforcement and police work. And here I am now doing my best to get the messages out there that no matter what it is, to me, belief is the strongest power in the universe. Mm-hmm. And if you believe in something strong enough, you can do it. There, you know, and to me, failure is a lesson towards success.
Oh, it's beautiful. So the challenges really are empowering.
That's right. They're lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as people have the ability to understand that just because they fail doesn't mean it's over, but reevaluate, step back, and look at what you've done. Try it again. Succeed.
Again.
That's it. You know, so law enforcement taught me a great deal about people.
I would think so.
You know, the music I did, well, I always loved music. I still do. And then what I'm doing here in broadcasting is giving the opportunity to people who have important messages that that they need to get out to the masses, because like I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I said, well, you've got an important story to tell. This is why I want you on the show, so that you can tell your story, because I'm sure there's people out there who are going through the same thing you are. And by you sharing your story, they won't feel so isolated. They will know that, wait a minute, I'm not alone. This is happening to somebody else. And by you telling your story, you'll be helping them to understand what they can do, what they can expect. You're sharing knowledge, and this is what this show is all about.
Yes, and it's beautiful. So I'm so happy that it's growing. It's really a great pleasure. And the fact that I'm surviving in radio all these years, too, and television, speaks well for the subject of light sharing, which is what you and I do. So, and I also wanted to say, since you know Jack, or you knew him, you spoke with Jack a number of times, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he passed suddenly, as I said, last February. And almost immediately, I caught glimpses of him after he crossed over, but mostly the moment I fall asleep, he's right there. Oh. And he is more real. I mean, I cannot believe how real he is, and he looks fabulous, by the way. He looks like he's about 35. He's probably too young for me now.
No, he knows you're a cougar.
Oh, yeah, right. But he comes all the time, and I'm with him so many times, so I wanted to share that with the audience. And he's having a fine time. So he doesn't have the problems we have here. All right, let's talk more on the other side of this break. X-Zone Nation, Joyce Keller is my special guest, www.joycekeller.com. Don't forget, she has a new book coming out in the spring of this year, Why Am I Here? My name is Rob McConnell. Joyce Keller is my guest. We'll both be back on the other side of this brief break. Don't go away.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. Welcome back, everyone. Joyce Keller is my guest this hour. Don't forget, spring of 2016, her new book is out, Why Am I Here? And you can also listen to Joyce's radio show that's heard Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com/Joyce-Keller. And one more time, her website is JOYCEKELLER.com. Joyce, we've got about 4 minutes left. First of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a great pleasure talking to you. But if you can let our listeners know about the message that you'd like to share with them about Jack.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we were together. I actually fell in love with him when I was 5 years old, and I told my mom at that time. He was my cousin's friend, my cousin Donald, and he were best buddies. They still are to this day. I mean, they're very close. And he, as soon as I saw him, I realized that I was going to marry him, and he was the only man I was ever with. Oh. So we were married for many years, and when he crossed over last year, he started coming to me immediately. And it was so laughable. A couple of days ago, and he has the same message all the time. He says, it's more real here than it is where you are, and it's much better here. And he says, I can't wait for you to join me and that kind of thing. He's really waiting, and I don't know what to say. I said, well, all right, my darling, soon. But what I wanted to tell you and tell the audience is how real all of these folks are. My mom and all these people who have crossed over. I actually, Rob, have awakened out of a deep sleep and looked at my bed, and I cannot believe that he's not there. That's how real he is. And I say, well, he told me he's real. He told me, and look, the bed is empty. So it's like that kind of thing. I'm living in two worlds, and it's amazing. It's so real, and it's beautiful. It was like the Robin Williams movie. I don't remember the name, but where he visits his wife who had crossed over. She had committed suicide. What Dreams May Come, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think that was the title. But so beautiful. It really is exactly like that. So I wanted to share that with you. Thank you for letting me share that, Rob. I appreciate it.
It is my great pleasure. And as you have said graciously throughout the hour here, you and I have been friends for a number of years. And I would just want to thank you for the great work that you are doing by sharing the light and spreading the light to the people that you do.
Thank you. I really do.
What is your final message for the X-Zone Nation around the world tonight?
The final message is love one another. I mean, good heavens, the planet is shaking from bad vibrations, but it is being straightened out as we work. All the light workers like you, Rob, work to bring in the light and meditate daily, say prayers, and let God know that we're working to do the best that we can. And God knows that, but it will empower the light energy and the light workers on the earth. So love one another.
John Lennon said it best, all you need is love.
Really, and I also remember that was the last thing Jesus said also. He said, love one another. Yeah. That was his final message. So thank you for letting me get that out also.
It's my great pleasure. And once again, X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour, Joyce Keller. Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com/Joyce-Keller. And she has her new book coming out the spring of 2016, Why Am I Here? And her website is www.JOYCEKELLER.com. That's www.JOYCEKELLER.com. Joyce, take care of yourself. We love you.
Thank you, Rob. I love you back. Take care.
Take care, my dear friend. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. X-Zone Nation, Joyce Keller has been my guest, and we'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com, and our new podcast site, xzonepodcast.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.